Okay, so hello everyone. This is Craig DeLarge with the Digital Mental Health Project, and I'm here today with my good friend, digital wellness subject matter expert and colleague, Olawatusin Olabode. So, Olu, please introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. So, like you rightly said, I'm Olu Olabode, a certified digital wellness educator from Nigeria and the founder of Doing Healthy Africa. Our focus essentially is to help young professionals using tech to be able to thrive in a digital age in such a way that they remain productive while avoiding the associated harm that comes with tech usage. So essentially, we help people build balance between their online and offline lives. And recently, one of the ways that we've been doing that is through a product that we just released, which is called the Vivified Card Games.
Okay, thank you for that. And so I noticed that the focus of your work from a population perspective is on professionals and
Yeah,
how they
young
can thrive
professionals.
in this digital age. Okay, all right. So tell me a bit about why that population. Why have you decided to focus your work on that population?
Yeah, so we are in a dispensation where there is hardly anything that you want to do now that doesn't require one form of technology or the other. And this age group are the ones that are fully involved in the tech space. And so essentially, a lot of the conversations going around sometimes might tilt towards less tech time or finding alternatives to tech. But in the world that we're in, the tech space is ever evolving. And so I saw a market there. I saw a need there. It's super important that these people still remain within the tech space, but use it in such a way that their productivity isn't reduced, but their mental health and overall well-being is also protected.
Tell us a bit about how you feel your work contributes within that context of creative care.
I really love the idea of creative care because one of the things that creative care does is that it brings the participants, it brings the clients, it brings the people that you're in interactions with, it brings them and gets them involved in whatever solution that it is that you're bringing. So I mentioned earlier on that one of our products is called the Vivify card game. And the idea behind that is, can we create an ecosystem where we use a peer learning approach to have conversations about digital wellness, where we are leveraging on the experiences, the education, the exposure of the people that come to the gatherings that we host to hold this holistic conversation. Because a classic question, for instance, is, do you put off your notification? This is a yes or no answer to everybody that has a digital device, and everybody has a reason behind it. And so one of the things we've been able to do, and one of the things that we advocate for, that Creative Care essentially has created a platform for us to be able to do, is host these conversations from a perspective of, does it align with who you are or and want to be, or does it not align with who you are and want to be? And so when we have a peer learning approach, which is the creative perspective that we've brought into the conversation, when we ask that question and somebody's like, oh, I put off my notification because I'm easily distracted. And I notice that if I get distracted, I'm more anxious, I'm more stressed because now I have a lot more work to do with a limited amount of time. And then that person explains clearly the reason why their notification is off. And then somebody else is like, oh, I'm able to better manage my notifications. I have important messages that come across the day. And so I need my notification to be on. And so with that, I have a bit more discipline to be able to know when to on or off my notification. We have two different perspectives in one audience. And so we're able to empathize with the reason why a particular person is doing this and empathize also with the reason why another person is doing it. And so this platform gives us a room where the participants are the ones essentially profiling the solutions, and then we're able to guide them and tilt them from a professional digital wellness perspective. But the bulk of the conversation is facilitated by our participants, and we've seen people speak to the fact that their lives are being improved because of solutions that they, in retrospect, solutions that they themselves gave out. And so for us, it's super creative, and we can see results, we can see outcomes, and that's the value therein.
What I really love about what you mentioned there is the peer learning approach,
Yeah.
and people working in community and seeing that they're not alone, as well as that coaching methodology of people coming up with their own solutions. So everyone's more in love with their own solutions than they are with any
Yeah.
solution that you're going to give them, right? So now, that said, I'm curious to understand, describe the context within which this card game approach is delivered. Is it online? Is it like through Zoom? Is it that you're bringing people together in communities of faith or clubs? Or help us understand the context of how it's implemented and executed.
Okay, awesome question. So the primary issue that we aim to address with the card game is digital burnout and the negative impact of excessive screen time that negatively impacts our mental health and well-being. And one of the reasons why this happens a lot is the way we use the screen time. It's not necessarily the amount of time that we spend online, it's how that time is being spent. And so
Yes.
since we are creating a solution to tackle this, it was super important that we create an environment that is offline. And so the card game is played offline. We host a gathering that is called the No Gadget Hangouts. It's a tech space that is free of any digital device. And so the card games are physical. You come, your devices, we have an allocation, a place where your devices are dropped, and then you receive the card game, and then we play it on a physical level. And we use three principles to ensure that we have a very holistic event, which is the idea of intentionality, the idea of scheduling a time, and the idea of traction. Intentionality is that you've realized that you are burning out from excessive screen time and you need a change from that. Scheduling is fixing a specific time that is comfortable to you to drop your devices or any other gadgets that you have. And then the law of traction is being able to come through that peer learning to be able to offer solutions that align with who you are and want to be. So what your solution might be different from what another person's solution might be. There is no one size fits all. And this is important to us because, again, the goal is there is excessive screen time usage, which is negatively impacting our mental health. We want people
Yes.
to leave any gathering or any conversation that we are having via the Vivify card game, having a form of solution to that excessive screen time, going back and being able to say, oh, I need to spend less time on Instagram because of A, B, and C. If there is a specific reason that you've identified to why you need to reduce your screen time, it's more sustainable because you are not just doing it because somebody told you to do it. You've seen the effect on how you are living. And so that's the perspective with which we are approaching it.
Beautiful. So this is building the element of self-efficacy or self-confidence and how
So
people
true.
approach their health. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, let me dig a bit more around the No Gadget Hangout. So, are these events or are these like I noticed there's this global phenomenon of board game stores where you go. I hear in some parts of the world people stand in line for hours to get into these. Um, I guess they're like clubs, but when you get there, it's just board games, and people sit
Yeah.
around and play board games with one another as a way of escaping the intense
Yeah.
digital environment. So, is the hangout an event or like a club? Help
Yeah.
us with.
So it's a blend of both.
Okay,
It's like a membership platform, but
really?
it's also an event that we host. So the way you live out the no gadget concept is through a hangout, and the hangout can be of any form. The only difference is that there is no gadgets present. So let's say you are having a picnic, for instance. A normal picnic will have phones where you're taking pictures to keep up memories and all of that. If you are bringing in the concept of the no gadget hangouts, it means that that picnic will not have a phone. So maybe you have a paint and sip, you have any kind of activity that you're thinking of. The leverage that we're bringing in is that we are taking advantage of platforms that do not require technology to host holistic conversations. So in that case, it is an event we've done in a couple of cities in Nigeria. So we've
Yeah,
done in Plateau State, we've done in Abuja, which is the capital. We are
yeah.
planning one for Lagos. So it can be hosted anywhere as an event. The anchor is just that you are creating an atmosphere free of digital distraction.
Very interesting. So I guess if I want to capture the memories, I bring a old-fashioned phone that's not connected to the not phone, an old-fashioned camera
Camera.
that's not
Yeah,
connected to
yeah.
the internet?
Yeah, and then to
Wow.
document, we usually have, so we have branded products that we bring to the events. We
Yeah.
have jotters, we have journals and pen. So if there are any key points you want to write, you write it the old-fashioned way. It's usually really fun because it
Yeah,
takes you
very
back to
nice.
how things were before technology.
Very cool, very cool. Okay, okay. Now, let me
Yeah.
ask one last question, before we wrap up. Um, so all of us are working in the global community, and it's my intention that a good number of people are gonna see the work that you're doing there. Um, what are 2 or 3 asks that you would have? If someone is saying, "Man, I really love the work that Olu is doing there in Nigeria. How can I be a support or help with the acceleration or the advancement of the work you're doing? How can we be helpful to you in the rest of the global community?"
Yeah, so I think, thank you, by the way, for that lovely nudge. I think one of the first would be that as a global community, we need to embrace more creative approaches to profiling our solutions, whether directly in the mental health space or in the digital wellness space or in the confluence of both spaces. We need to create more creative and holistic approaches so people are more interested in the identifying what the problems are, profiling the solutions therein. I think it helps amplify the work that we do and it makes the journey a bit easier. The second ask will be that I am 100% open to collaborations. We don't work in isolations. The more we can collaborate, the larger audiences we can reach, the greater the perspectives we can bring to the conversation. I have a Nigerian perspective, for instance, to my approaches because the problems, especially when I'm dealing with African or Nigerian clients, the problems are local. And so you need to create a solution that is unique to the challenges that
Yeah,
people are going through. You have a unique perspective based on where you are located. And so everybody has a unique perspective based on where they are located. And so if we come together and we collaborate, we're able to share, it's more like a knowledge exchange program, essentially. We're
exactly.
able to share ideas, share creative approaches, what have worked, what haven't worked, and create more sustainable and more lasting solutions, which is the end goal for me and is the end goal for us essentially to be able to create an ecosystem where people indeed have a stable mental health and well-being.
Very nice. Okay. So may we continue to cultivate community and interdependence, right?
Yeah,
As
yeah,
professionals and leaders around the world who have a
yeah,
passion for this space and for benefiting the communities that we're a part of, as well as other communities that we are not necessarily a part of. All
yeah.
righty. So, Lou, thank you so much, man, for your work and for taking the time in your busy schedule to join us and talk about what you're doing. And thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So we'll chat
Thank
again soon. And I hope that everyone who's viewing this has a nice time the rest of the conference. Be well.